Hello everyone and welcome back to another no editing style exhibition. This is Alrav from Quebec, Canada, and before I was the author and creator of Algatras the Protector slash Algatras le Protector. I actually made a comic book before that, so I'm going to be showing it for the first time in years. This is le monsieur moustachu frustré, which I can translate to you as the Mr. Frustrated Mustache. That's my own traduction of it. This particular comic book is about in the 24 pages in total. I was behind out the writing and the drawings for it. This one was made through the program Jeunes Volontaires as part of Intégration Compétences. And this was in particular I had several people that helped out with the particular making of this particular comic book. So, for instance, Monsieur Cartoon was responsible for making the coloring for the cover art as well as the rear of this particular comic book. And I also had Manon Footer responsible for the financing and the supervising of the project itself. And there is at least one another person who was responsible for correcting and editing the artwork that I produced for this particular project. So this particular comic book, it's the story of this bald mustache guy who stares at neglect, and whenever he shows up, things start happening. So he has two faces, one that's the angry, frustrated face, and the more that's actually the enthusiastic face, and that's the angry face that he makes. And art the comedy in these gags are both around the two faces. So one instant he will be either angry or enthusiastic, but then by the time the gag ends, he'll be in either one of these states. And all the comedy is based around it. So the main theme of neglect is shown and present throughout all these gags, and it's a purely visual script of sort. There are no words or thought balloons or anything like that, except for the titles of the comics themselves. And the basic formula is the same across the board, with a different layout and stuff, as well as different subject. So going back to these slightly, for instance, the first gag here is a clinical checkup, and then you have lightning pollution, electric pollution of sort, smoking in bars, driving while texting, construction project without any consultation, taking out the trash, and so on and forth. So I'm sort of improvising the traduction, as this particular comic book I only made in French. So again, some of the titles, for instance, l'accidentalité, that will be sedentary. One that's an introspection about the paper. So I suppose this is supposed to be a gag based on a famous art piece, Depression. I've got right here. Wasting water. It's the same basic formula for each one of these. So now here I've got La Marée Noire, that would be something about the water pollution. Industrial pollution here. Taking dangerous selfies. So with a skyscraper and stuff. Taking drugs. Again, a classic subject. Infiltrating forbidden areas, zone. The mosquito problem. forgetting to extinguish campfires. Cigar rushes. Yeah, cigar is everywhere in spot, so I had to take it. Putting gums behind the desk in school and stuff. Erupting volcanoes. Leaving the water faucet on. That's a bad habit. Stealing money. Yeah, this is supposed to be a anti-gravity gun of sort. And then last, there's a private life. So this particular comic book I've never released online, as it was never intended to be a commercial product of sort. This was made to the government of Quebec, Canada, as part of my own backstory of sort, and that's how I got to make this particular comic book. And the short answer is that there are no plans to actually release it as it is the first time that I'm showing it in years. But just so you know that before I did Algatras, I did this particular comic book, so this was a test. And of course, the IP itself, I still made use of it for a different purpose in the form of a Redbubble store that I used to operate, which I'll be getting to in the next exhibition. So for now, I'm only showing you this particular comic book. So here in this particular document here, I've got the basic layout and stuff for the different gag. Most of which that actually made it, so this is driving while texting, smoking in bars. So again, since this was a product made jointly with the government of Quebec, there were definitely some restrictions to what sort of content you could make. Luckily, I'm sort of good at working around some of these particular things, but it is a different type of environment, since at the time I had a whole team of people behind me, so this one is a gag that never made it into the final comic book, and this one either. So the original plan for this was to make more gags, to make it closer to a franco-belgian style album, but there's a lot of stuff that happened during the making of this particular comic book, so in the end that's why it ended up being only a 24 page. I do have all the script and stuff in my possession. There's always a possibility that one day I could revisit this particular comic book, but for now it is safe to say that it is a lost media of sort. I have since long past moved out to Algatras the Protector / Algatras le Protector, which you can read on my Substack and everything. With that being said, oh, that's not part of the comic at all. With that being said, thanks for watching, and we'll see one another very soon. Stay tuned for the next part, as this is where I'll be going to show you my lost Redbubble store, featuring the monsieur moustachu frustré, which you may have also known as the Mustached frustrated mustache, so stay tuned for that. With that being said, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the commentary section below. And with that being said, we'll see one another very soon. Enjoy the reading.